This podcast is brought to you by Revival, Book 1 of the Unveiled book series, and by the Down the Middle podcast.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how much more Christmassy can you get? You know.
There was someone on the internet. We're not gonna mention his name or get into it, but he said that It's a Wonderful Life is the greatest Christmas movie of all time, and I have to be like, It's a Wonderful Life is technically not a Christmas movie.
I was gonna say technically not a Christmas. I mean, I know it's played at Christmas time a lot, which is funny because I argued with Jordan about Home Alone being a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Which I still maintain that it is, but like I think you can honestly make the case that A Wonderful Life is in fact not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, 2/3 of it don't take place at Christmas, and the actual plot of it has nothing to do with Christmas. Anyway, we're here to talk about the Grinch.
Hi guys, and welcome to this very special episode of the Your Broadway World podcast, and also Merry Christmas, because this is going to go out on Christmas.
Merry Christmas, one and all.
It's a Merry Christmas to everybody, especially people watching this podcast. Okay, I have to ask. I know. Hailey said she didn't off air. Jake, did you watch the mean one?
I tried.
You tried. I respect tried.
I turned it off.
I mean, hey man, I get it. It's one of those things. I enjoy it, but you could probably get immediately why I enjoy it, based on how much you know me by this point.
I imagine we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, I enjoy. I'm the kind of movie watcher where I enjoy movies because they're bad. Like Jordan is baffled by that sometimes, but I like the mean one because it's bad. I recognize that it's a bad movie. But the reason why I mention it is there's a one of the characters in it, one of the deputies, he's Jewish. And so the whole thing with that movie is the Grinch only comes after you if you put up Christmas stuff. And he there's a point where he's trying to attract the Grinch by singing Christmas carols, but he's Jewish, so he doesn't know any Christmas carols. So he just starts singing dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. That was funny. Oh, because it bothered me. I'm like, why doesn't he know Santa Claus comes to town or whatever the thing is? Oh, he's singing Jingle Bells.
Yeah,
like,
some of the more
Bells.
Yeah, and Jingle Bells is arguably like it's more of a winter song than a Christmas song per se.
I would argue. So the joke I have to make about the mayor up top right away about child mayor from the Grinch, and I'm allowed to say this as a former fat kid. He has entirely too much self-confidence for a fat kid. Like if I were and I'm not saying this is right, and I'm not saying this is fair, and I'm not saying it's a cool thing to do, but kids are mean. But if I were Kid Grinch, I would turn around and just call him fat. I would just like, shut up, fatty. Like I would just turn around and I would just lay into him. I'm like, yo, you sweating, fatty? You smell like bacon grease. And I would just, okay, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying sometimes you have to bring a gun to a knife fight. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. The minute he was like, what's that hack job? I'd be like, shut up, fatty. Like I would just lay into him.
As someone, I can't believe I'm at, because I thought about it. I'm like, I'm not going to bring this up, but you brought up the scene because I was thinking about it this morning, actually. As someone who at the age of 15 was being referred to as Wolverine because of the mutton chops.
Right.
My go-to rebuttal was always like, I can grow facial hair and you can't.
Right.
To work.
Like, I would just turn to him and I would just be mean. And again, I'm not suggesting that children do this. This is not me being like, kids, go be mean to your classmates. I'm saying he deserved it and he needed to be taken down a peg. The mayor deserves it. He kind of sucks. Like that's my ultimate argument with this movie is the Who's kind of suck.
I think that's the point, though.
That is absolutely the point. But like they all kind of like they suck just as much as the Grinch does.
Well,
Well,
Martha May is
argue
moving. She doesn't really. I don't think.
no, but she goes along with it though, which I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I like the Ron Howard Grinch movie is because it expands upon the original story because and this is going to sound odd coming from me because generally speaking, I really don't like how Hollywood has done away with the concept of like a true villain and
Yeah.
everybody's just now a sympathetic bad guy. But when it comes to the Grinch, it actually first of all they do it well because the Grinch has moments where he's not exactly the greatest person ever,
Yeah.
but you can understand how he got there and he changes in the end. That's the thing is his actions are not justified,
I would
but
say though that he doesn't change a ton though. My argument with the Jim Carrey Grinch is he is just deeply unhinged. Like I feel like he could kill any one of the Who's and not blink. Like he wouldn't feel an ounce of sympathy. I don't even at the end I still feel like he's not a great guy. Like I never got the vibe that he's like a great guy. Like maybe he's slightly better than he was at the beginning, but like I found because also watched the Benedict Cumberbatch one, that the Benedict Cumberbatch one does a better job, in my opinion, of humanizing the Grinch. At least in my opinion.
I mean, if you want to humanize the Grinch, I suppose, because that I'll be honest, I didn't care for that one. It's not bad. It's not bad. To me, it was just kind of like, we've done this already.
I liked, I guess because I watched both of them back to back, the differences kind of become more highlighted to me. And there's stuff about the Benedict Cumberbatch that I love the Jim Carrey one, and my position is always going to be that's my favorite one. But there's stuff about it that I liked. For example, Cindy Lou Who should know that Santa Claus is the Grinch. Like that scene drives me crazy every single time. She knows the Grinch too well and has had too many interactions with him to not immediately be like, Mr. Grinch, why are you dressed like Santa Claus?
But that doesn't work for the story, Justin. I will say the one positive thing, and then I figure, Haley, would you like to go in chronological order with these?
Yeah, might as well.
Yes. Yes.
Let's do it because I can save my note because there is one thing I actually really like about the Benedict Cumberbatch movie, but we'll get there. But before we get into that, Haley, you should remind everybody to vote for you for the Artie Awards because they're still going on. Voting is still going on.
I like how subtle you were with that.
Well, I cover my mouth and everything, so they think it was a ghost.
That doesn't work.
It's the ghost of Christmas voting.
What you do is you say, Haley, you go support the Artie Awards, and then later on, Jake can edit in over himself covering his mouth.
Well, if I was a better ventriloquist, I would have done it that way. But as you can clearly see, I suck at this.
Anyway, so as Jake had mentioned, the Artie Awards has come up.
It's a thing.
They're still going, and I'm still in the running for now. Remind me, Jake, which categories?
You are in every category except best new podcast, and only because you don't qualify.
Okay,
Being that you're not new,
So all of them.
So yeah, all of them. I'm in all the categories. So make sure to vote for me because I really want to win. And I will leave the description the link in the description down below.
See, we campaigned for Haley for the Arties on our podcast, but you only heard some of us campaigning for them because one of the problems didn't record his audio.
It wasn't me this time.
And it wasn't the other problem this time.
It wasn't the other problem.
I did that, and I had to tell Jake because I was like, Jake is the one person who will sympathize with me.
Balls.
Yeah. It's a real heartbreaking feeling.
Before we get into the Grinch, though, I must share with your audience because you both shared before we started recording that neither of you is really that big into Christmas.
No, not super. I found that because I'm single, I don't really involve myself with like kids or anything. I find that it's more a thing that like when you are surrounded by kids, you enjoy way more than when you're single and you're living on your own. Like to me, it's just kind of me and Jordan will do a thing. Sometimes we'll get out to see my dad. My mother lives in Mexico, so it's just one of those things where as we've gotten older, my family just kind of did one of those things. So
I feel that, but I, as somebody who loves Christmas, sometimes it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's tough to get into the spirit, but I mean, You always can. Christmas movies, The Grinch being one of them.
I mean there are certain elements of Christmas. Like, it's the same thing with Halloween. I don't like any of the fun holidays. Like I don't like Valentine's Day. I don't like Halloween. And I
You're
don't like Christmas.
you're 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 a big Boxing Day fan, huh?
I'm a big Boxing Day fan. But I always love the fun stuff. So yeah, I love the Grinch. I love my recent discovery is there's two really good Spirited, in my opinion, is a modern Christmas classic, and the Nativity Story is quite a good with Antonio Banderas. Quite good.
Really?
Yeah, we're gonna try. I'm gonna try to get Jordan to watch it for the show. The music it's better than it has any right to be, is what I would say. It's my note on that.
So The Grinch.
Yeah. I mean,
The first one, and I'm gonna try to say something positive about every version, because there's one version that I don't particularly care for and one that I thought was absolute dog shit, but we'll get there.
I mean, okay, we start with the 1960s short, because that thing, I love that thing. To get into the nitty gritty of it, I don't know. Are you guys Looney Tunes fans at all?
No.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're a Looney Tunes
I
fan.
am.
As
I
a
am.
hardcore
I'm also not a Dr. Seuss fan.
interesting. It's fascinating because for me, as a Looney
He
Tunes fan,
rhymes. It ain't that hard.
I mean, his rhyming scheme is hilarious, especially when people do it badly.
And I'm sorry, saying fish 4 times is not a rhyme. It's the same fucking word.
I mean, it's true.
You're not clever. 1 fish, 2 fish, blue fish, red fish. That's not a fucking rhyme.
It's not his rhyming scheme is very lame.
It's the same goddamn word.
As a Looney Tunes fan, I'm a big Chuck Jones fan. So I love his animation. His art style is just so good, and if you're familiar with it, you recognize it instantly. The expressiveness of the Grinch is just so much fun in that.
It's
in that
very
short.
yeah. I see that now. It's very Bugs Bunny reminiscent.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, he was one of Bugs Bunny's like major directors for like years. He did like most of the famous ones. He did them. The music, the songs, Dahu Doris is in every version of the Grinch. You're a Mean One is still iconic. The thing I learned the last time I watched it was that it had a third verse. Like I completely forgot it had a third verse. I was like, because I just remember the Jim Carrey version, which just cuts out the third verse, slims it down to 2 verses.
Oh, thank God.
I completely forgot about that. They come back. There's 2 reprises of it in a 30-minute special.
I thought like when they did You're a Mean One in the Jim Carrey version, I love that version. I love that version.
I do like the original though. It's a classic.
Isn't it? Isn't the original correct me if I'm wrong on this, isn't it Vincent Price who does the narration? I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
I seem to recall. But I mean that one, the thing that the Jim Carrey version kind of cut, and also, well, they still have the line in the Benedict Cumberbatch version, but the Jim Carrey version very much cuts out this line of that he's been suffering through this for 53 long years. And it's like, yeah, man, if you had the world's most obnoxious neighbors who played their Christmas music and had their lights so bright that you could see it from your mountain several miles away, yeah, I'd be pretty pissed by that. Is it bad enough that he should resort to grand larceny? No, it's not. But like, it's bad enough that he has a right to complain, I feel.
I think the point though is that he does complain, and clearly the city is just not having his complaints.
The city does not care.
It's just not doing anything about it.
The city's putting up all sorts of roadblocks. You know, they're not really wanting to do anything. They're going to take it up in the next meeting, but they never do.
They never do. Here's a question for you, because I know you didn't finish. We're going to get to the one, but to me, as these movies sort of go on, the question of what is the Grinch exactly? Like the Jim Carrey version attempts to be like, he's a what? But as far as I'm concerned, in this original short and the book, he's just a who's an asshole. Like that's like he's a who, right? Originally, and it's in the original Inception. Would you say?
I mean, it's kind of implied, but he looks completely different.
He does, but if you see the original art style of the book, he does look very similar in the book.
That's true. The overall design, coloring, notwithstanding.
Yeah,
but
notwithstanding.
It might also be implied that he's green just because he's dirty in the original.
It's true. I think in the book, I don't think is he green. It's been so long since I read the book.
You know what? No, I don't know that he is.
I think he became green in the special. I'm pretty sure.
I think he did. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, because I'm pretty sure the original book is in black and white.
Yes, I'm almost entirely positive. I think they did later colored versions of it, but
Yeah. They've done subsequent versions, but I think
yeah.
the original was black and white. So that leads even more credence to him
So are
being a who, not a what.
exactly, yeah, fair. So
But
is it
I'm of the opinion though that he's a witch.
I mean, for
But
50,
Why do we have to judge people for being green?
is it because he's green, isn't it?
well, no, WHICH witch.
No, I know.
Grammar jokes, boom.
So
And a wicked joke. It's a double.
it's
That's
a
what we call a
double.
double entendre.
It's now we
But I
can.
was going for when you said I think he's green because he's dirty. Why do we gotta pick on the green people?
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, to be fair, it's not like the Wicked Witch of the West can wash herself.
That's true. That is true.
I'm just saying.
That's true.
I'm not
his
saying
Spurr might
I'm not saying it's a
literally be
bad thing.
dirty.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a statement of fact.
He
She
does
can't
live
shower.
He does live in the dump. I mean,
He
is,
does live in the
live.
dump.
I mean, in the Jim Carrey version, he lives in the dump. I mean, in the original version, he just lives in a sad mountain cave.
He's just a mountain man.
And he adopted a dog, but it's still a jerk, and up until the end. I did think it's funny that like we have these McDonald's Grinch Happy Meals, and the message of the Grinch very much is just anti-commercialism. So anytime you use a character, at least in my opinion, it's anti-commercialism. So it's like anytime you use it's sort of like using the Lorax to sell SUVs. Like I just, it just kind of misses the point of the story. I, as an aside, watched that movie this morning. It's very funny. Anyway, unrelated.
Well, one of my favorite memes, not to get off topic, but it's a meme of Karl Marx in the corner, and then text is like it's like an excerpt from the Communist Manifesto about how capitalism is bad, and he says, "But buy this book."
Yeah, exactly. But buy the book that this is contained. Yeah. Environmentalism is bad, is good, but watch this movie and buy the SUV.
Well, I very rightly criticize Dave Ramsey for accepting credit cards as payment. So
I mean, hey, everything has an ounce of hypocrisy. But no, that original. I watched that as a kid. I remember very much watching it in like elementary school. Obviously, you guys grew up watching that as a kid. Yeah,
they play it every year on the TV.
On the TV every year. So how old were you guys when you first watched the Jim Carrey movie? I think I was 10 or 11.
Whenever it came out.
Whenever it came out, I feel like
I saw it in theaters. Yeah,
my thing with that Jim Carrey one. Tell me if you disagree with that. He's scary. Like he's framed as like especially in the in the marketing anyway. I'll never forget the initial poster where it was just his hand, and it was really creepy. It was like on a black background, and it was just his hand, and it was and the opening scene. I argue the opening scene with him is framed as a horror scene because he's meant to be a scary figure. Like that, the smile he does when you first see him, like in his entire like the front shot where he does that really creepy smile. Like,
well, that's an homage. That's an homage to the original special, though.
Is it? Oh yeah,
the whole like big.
You're right, but the way it's framed in that opening scene, he's framed as kind of like a scary like boogeyman character to Who children.
Yeah, but then it immediately goes away when they zoom out and see Max is the one that's barking into the thing.
Sure, but I mean the whole scene up until he goes and you see him go into the village and then he starts to goof. Like that whole opening bit to me it's framed as being, especially for Ron Howard, it's framed as kind of, to me it's got kind of a horror bend to it a little bit.
Yeah, but like a Sam Raimi horror bend.
I mean, sure, true.
Where it's kind of silly.
Yeah, it does have a silly to it. The other thing I noticed this time, which neither of you, Hailey, have you seen Man on the Moon? No, okay. There's a reference in this that I only got this time, which neither of you are gonna get, but I'm gonna say it anyway because maybe someone in the audience will appreciate this. If you're familiar with Andy Kaufman, he did a character called Tony Clifton. There's a point when the Grinch is yelling at Cindy Lou Who, where he clearly just done Man on the Moon, because I think Man on the Moon was 1999, so it was still clear fresh in his mind. He does Tony Clifton to Cindy Lou Who, where he's like, don't you know not to take things that don't belong to you? And he even does the face, and I was like, holy shit, it's Tony Clifton. And yeah, that blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, it was like, clearly he's just done Man on the Moon. It's still fresh in his brain. Like my brain's still on like analyzing Jim Carrey. For that, I never noticed that before, and I've seen Man on the Moon multiple times. Also, I can quote that movie word for word. pretty much.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, sorry.
Just
my God.
kidding. No, but I will say just I was very happy when the Jim Carrey version came out because I never loved the original. Like I understand it's a classic, but I've never been a huge fan. Like it's all right for me, but I understand why people love it.
It's no Cat in the Hat.
Well, uh, hey, look, that's a rhyme.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I find the Jim Carrey it does feel to be kind of a takedown of that original book. It seems to be in a way sort of a satire of it because it makes fun of the rhyming. It's not as I think it's not as earnest as the Benedict Cumberbatch version. I
No,
think
that's definitely true, which is why I think I enjoy it more. But I'll be honest, I think the Jim Carrey, you know, version of the Grinch is the best. I mean, I objectively and my opinion, I think it's the
Interesting.
best movie that the Grinch because it tells a complete narrative arc. It does so in a way that's appealing to children and adults because the humor is layered. Like
Can't
some of
disagree
the
with that.
jokes go way over kids' heads and the adults get it immediately, but I'm a big fan. This is why I like Shrek so much. I love those sort of like double layered jokes where they can be funny to any audience, but for different reasons.
I like see the thing is I hate this is another stuff. I hate that the internet ruined Shrek. I hate it. I hate it so much because it's like now you can't enjoy Shrek without unironically enjoy Shrek. You have to ironically enjoy Shrek now, at least on the internet. At least that's what I find. Like after Shrek is love, Shrek is like whatever came out, and everyone memed Shrek to death. It just it became like I love if you love Shrek, I fully recommend Shrek Retold. Really great, but that is a really memey movie. Like it's more if you like Shrek, it's really good stuff. Like the bit where he's fighting off all the guards. They do it as like an Attack on Titan anime kind of thing. The bit where where Donkey confronts Fiona about being an ogre. They do it as kind of like an indie sort of drama kind of. It's framed as like an indie drama. It's basically like every scene is done by a different person and it's like interpreted in a different way. And it's really fascinating. It's really good. I fully recommend. They should do it with the Grinch.
The veil between her world and the other realm has faded, unleashing magic into the lives of ordinary citizens. Awakening from a 4-year coma, Tori James discovers a world transform. For some, like Tori, the unveiling ignites hidden abilities. With her expertise in classical languages, she's drawn into a world of thieves and magic. Join Tori on her magical journey in Book 1 of the Unveiled book series, Revival. Unveil your destiny.
And that's the other thing. So Jim Carrey is kind of tailor-made to play a character like the Grinch as told in this movie because I mean, he's Jim Carrey. Like there's so many just great little Easter eggs in this movie. For example, the scene where he does the tablecloth bit, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Nope.
Yeah, I read that. I read about that. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, and the fact that
and
that's why when people tell me that Jim Carrey's not funny, I'm just like, no, you're wrong because he's got people say it and they're wrong.
And the fact that he came back just to
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Who's saying that Jim Carrey's not funny?
Oh, there's people on the internet that hate themselves and their lives,
I mean, we all know that I took a lot of shit for shitting on Jim Carrey, but I would never say he's not funny. Like he's funny.
No, that's a demonstrably untrue statement.
Yeah.
He has become kind of a depressive person, but he still knows how to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very much so.
Just I wanted to add on to the tablecloth scene for a minute. Like I just love the fact that like when he does it, he walks away, then comes running back and just messes everything up and then walks away again.
It's more than that. So this is another part of the genius of Jim Carrey's comedic timing. Not only does he mess the table up, you'll notice as he walks away, he also flips the edge of the table
yeah.
but he does it real subtly and that's not something you can accidentally do because of how it falls. He had to plan to do that,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a planned shot. So to have that sort of comedic instinct and timing it's a feat in and of itself. And then there's another scene when he's directing Max, right? And he
Yeah.
reaches off screen and then sits back down and has the Ron Howard hat on.
Yeah, yeah. The whole him being like, "What your motivation is?" Apparently, is a direct jab at Ron Howard.
Oh no, he took the hat off of Ron Howard's head, who was
Oh,
on
that's
camera.
funny. I didn't know that part.
That's Ron
funny.
Howard's actual hat. The USS Whoville hat is a hat that he had made for that production, so he took it right off his head. Yeah, that's very much just a jab at Ron Howard, a fun jab.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. There's so much. I mean, everyone knows the anecdote about how he had to have like the CIA training to like get through the makeup process, which of the exaggerations he said, I do kind of have a belief that probably did happen, because he does seem like the type who would freak out. My favorite scene is the one just there's so many like scenes in terms of their staging that fascinate me. Like the one where he's on the little car. I'm like, how much of that is Jim Carrey? Like, how much of that is him, or did they get a stunt guy? Like, what was involved in that? Because that thing is,
I would imagine a lot
wild.
Yeah, I would imagine a lot of that was a stunt guy, but I don't know. Jim Carrey surprised me before in other productions.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many great bits in that movie too.
I can pretty well, like, I sat here in my living room watching it, and I said the lines word for word. Like,
yeah,
I know them word for word. I know them by heart.
My other favorite gag in the Jim Carrey movie was the echo, where he yells out into the abyss.
Yeah,
that's in Eric from Average Intelligence. That's a running gag on our podcast.
Hello.
He'll just say, "I'm an idiot.
I'm an idiot.
I'm an idiot."
One of the lines that I do wrong, because I'm old enough, and Jake, you're where I used to watch television on TV. And there'd be a thing
wild times.
Like there'd be a thing called commercials that you would have to watch, and they would do little bumpers for VHS tapes or for movies. And so one of the jokes that I remember from this one is the one where he's like, "But what would I wear?" There was this commercial that they played all the time where it was him going, "I must stop this Christmas from coming. But what would I wear?" And then it cuts to him wearing the set. So every time he says that, that's how I do that line, even though it's not remotely right. Because of commercials.
Or then like or the part where he like keeps changing outfits. He's like, "That's it, I'm not going."
Yeah,
walked away.
Yeah, that's a meme, and that's been a meme since memes have existed. Like that's just I saw a Christmas sweater. I saw a Christmas sweater because I mixed Christmas and sweater, and that's a Christmas sweater. Christmas sweater. Anyway,
combination Kwanzaa Christmas sweater.
Kwanzaa Christmas sweater.
Kwanzaa's Christmas. Anyway,
that's just confusing.
True.
It's joyful and triumphant.
There's so much of this movie I mean, I will say I've heard the criticism that there are a couple jokes where I'm like, all right, maybe it's a bit much, like where he like falls into her cleavage. I'm like, okay, maybe that's a bit over the top. But it's hard.
It's right on the top, actually.
Is it? Yeah, fair enough. I mean, my favorite character is the suck up mayor's assistant. I love him.
That's Ron Howard's brother, by the way.
Is it actually?
That is.
My favorite bit is at the end where he just shaves his head.
So my favorite gag, and because I don't know why, just again, Jim Carrey's comedic genius. Well, there's two actually. It's when they're doing the Cheermeister celebration.
Yeah.
And well, come to think of it, there's three, and one of which I actually mimic on like what would you call those, like swishy rides, like swishy amusement park rides.
Oh yeah.
Is he's in the chair and they keep bouncing him up and he goes like
Yeah. I was about to mention that, yeah.
No, but then there's another one where they cut after the fresh chef's thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's had it, and he's like sitting like with one leg on. He's just got this look on his face. He's like,
I love it where it's like, this is not pudding. What is it?
And then when they're feeding him the fudge, and he's like, "No, you got it.
Or I mean, there's so many. The Chariot of Fire, where he's just beating the children. He's like, nobody can beat the Grinch.
Like, if we're being real here, I could literally, like, I could spend the entire podcast just going beat by beat
My thing
on
with
all
that
my
movie,
favorite jokes.
I've discovered because I watched The Giver this week. I find the more an adaptation tries to adhere to the source material, the worse it is. Like, but this one, yeah, when it comes time for him to steal Christmas, you're like, everyone's pretending like they don't know that he's stealing Christmas, even though he just like destroyed their town 5 minutes ago. Like who could possibly have done this thing? Could it be the guy who you victimized? I don't know. It could be him. Maybe it could be him. I don't know.
Well, I mean, not to mention it's kind of an isolated community, and
Right?
when 99.999% of the people love Christmas, and there's this one asshole.
Right?
I'm
I mean,
pretty sure when all your Christmas is gone, it was the asshole.
right? It's just, I guess it's a consequence. They got to make Cindy Lou Who a character.
I mean, fair enough. And I
Yeah.
mean, I like her as a character in this movie because as is often the case, sometimes children are the wisest of us all.
I don't like Where Are You Christmas.
I
don't
like
that
the song. I don't like her singing it in the movie.
I just call it the
Mhm.
weird puberty song because it's just
Well,
this-
are you talking specifically? Are you talking about her performance or the song itself? Because the song they play in the credits is a significantly better. And I get it. Like, I'm not knocking the actress as an
I mean,
adult now, but
yeah, she went on to be a very famous singer, so she's in quite a famous band. So I'm not going to criticize her singing.
yeah. It's pitchy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my perspective of it is, as a child, it was the derailing song that pulled away from Jim Carrey. So
Well, I mean,
like,
fair enough.
I've never liked it on that basis. Now I'm
I
just
mean,
like,
fair
ooh,
enough.
she's pitchy.
To go off of what Jake said, she's a 6-year-old.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm not
yeah,
dogging her. I'm just saying it's what happens whenever most of the time when you have a child singing, it just
Mm.
it's a thing. Like, I'm not saying it's bad necessarily, because I think if it was bad, they wouldn't have put it
in
in.
terms
but-
of
Yeah.
in terms of child actresses, she's not the worst, but she does have some kind of bad line reads in that movie that are they're
Mhm.
not
well,
great.
children.
But also, we haven't talked about the nice lesbian couple who adopts the Grinch.
Well, I
They're definitely a nice lesbian couple. They're old. They live together. Come on, man. Give it.
But-
Even
well,
Jordan
hang
went,
on.
yeah.
Can we also
Well,
talk
hang
about
on.
how cute
They're not-
the baby Grinch is?
Ooh, don't know if I agree with that.
Oh, it's cute, but hang on a second. So you're coming to the conclusion that they're lesbians because of the story they tell, the flashback. Well, no, not because they're together, right? But here's the thing: you can't trust their story because their story is clearly a metaphor.
Oh, interesting. So you don't think it's supposed to be literal? I figured because it's
No.
Dr. Zeus that it's literal.
No,
That one
here's the
joke where
thing.
it's like, why does it look like your boss? Is funny every time. It makes me laugh every time.
That's funny as hell. No, but the thing is, the Grinch was conceived. The Grinch was conceived at a key party.
At a what party?
So a key party. Remember the scene? A strange wind blew in that night, and
Mhm.
it's a black parasail. And then as the basket is landing, you see a party happening, and people are throwing their keys into a bowl.
Oh, okay. Is that what they're doing? I just assumed that it was they were just really freaky.
I mean, they are, because what a key party is you throw your keys. It's a swinger event. And
Oh my god. Okay. I picked up on. I was gonna call. I wasn't sure if this is the kind of show where I could call it the O word.
yeah, well, no, it's not an O word. So I only know this because of that 70s show, and I don't even know if key parties are a real thing, but apparently they are because it's referenced in this movie. So apparently
interesting.
you show up and you put your keys into a bowl, and then people pick keys out of the bowl, and that's who you go home with,
So that's so fast.
or
That is.
do things with.
Huh. I never thought. Okay, because of my deep familiarity with Dr. Zeus, right? I just assumed it was a Dr. Zeus thing. They came in like they came in on Little Umbrella. Like that's the thing I've straight out of Dr. Zeus. I never conceived that was metaphorical. Like
and it solidifies it for me because of the joke of like, our baby's here and he looks just like your boss.
You look just like your boss.
I was like, why is Barney Fife in this movie?
Oh my god, it's so funny.
Like, Andy, something horrible happened.
Oh no.
Well, the baby came and it looked just like Mr. Ruthers.
Wait, is that a Happy Days character?
No, that's oh my God.
So I was gonna say
Barney
Ron
Fife, the
Howard.
Andy Barney Fife, the Andy well, Ron Howard was in the Andy Griffith Show too.
Uh
What is his damn name? Why am I drawing a blank on this? Don Knotts.
oh yeah, Don Knotts. Yeah. That him I know.
Why are there so many ostriches?
He's a fun one to
I love Don Knotts, but yeah, it's not actually Don Knotts, but the
um
guy's clearly doing a Don Knotts
oh
impression.
so here's another question. Is who their last name? Or is so she's
It's
Cindy Lou Who?
no. Okay, so her last name is Luhu.
Lou Who. So is he Lou Who?
He is Luhu.
Lou Who. He's
You
not
see, in
Lou
the
Lou Who.
in the custom of the Who's, your surname is the surname of your father.
Right, okay. So his first name is not
No, I'm sorry, I didn't say that correctly. Your surname becomes your father's name.
because the mayor keeps calling him Who and keeps like implying that he's gonna break his or keeps calling him Lou and keeps implying that he's gonna break his legs if his daughter doesn't stop talking. So like that gave me the question: is Lou his first name? So is he Lou Who?
No, his name is Luhu. But Cindy, because her father is Luhu, her surname is Luhu
Gotcha. Okay, I've got it now. Okay.
until she marries.
I this yeah, there's so many my one of my favorite non Jim Carrey scenes is where the mom was watching Mary Huvier do her thing and it's just like she's just like sploosh.
Oh
Which
my
by
god.
which by the way, I do want to just point out, I made that whole thing up. I have no idea how names work in Whoville. Presumably all their last names are Who.
I
Because
just say
her name is Martha May Who,
yeah,
but the
Martha May Huvier.
well, no, that's not her proper name. That's just the mom being snarky.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah.
Because her name is Martha Mayhew.
So is Whoville just like an inbred hick town?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be, because the thing that could happen is like much like in the Middle Ages in Europe, once the feudal system collapsed, everyone was like, we want last names too. And instead of being like, well, give yourself the name of your occupation, they said, fuck it, we're just all who's.
Fair enough. So okay. To go back to the
It makes
Grinch's
things
birth.
easier at the Whoville Social Security office when there's
I
a
mean,
wedding.
I mean that makes sense. But the quick okay, going back to the idea that the Grinch arriving in Whoville is metaphorical. Then who do you think is the Grinch's dad or mom or parents?
Who knows? He was now that I think about it, this movie has a lot of similarities to Wicked.
Sure. Seems that way.
I think it was a what who was doing business in Whoville,
Oh,
and he
was
was
he at
like,
the key party though? Is that was
but
he
he
conceived?
would have
He was
he would have had to have been.
he was conceived at the key party, so
He
he
was
didn't
conceived
actually.
at the key party.
Because another that just oh my god, you just like my mind a little because now that you say that, it kind of answers the idea of like how did a baby survive out in the cold all night half naked?
Because he didn't.
Because he didn't. Yeah, that makes total sense.
They're telling Cindy Lou Who the metaphorical stork version of the stork. You know,
Ah, that makes total sense. Huh.
which actually, if you look at the
never thought of it that way.
if you look at the visuals of all the white parasols, it's clearly a semen joke.
I mean, yes, I figured it was a race joke. Did you say he had a?
I mean,
black parasol?
it's a there's layers. It's like an onion.
It's like an onion. That's Shrek. That's a different green franchise. It's a whole other
Yeah.
green franchise.
But yeah, now that I think about it, this has a lot of striking similarities to Wicked.
It does. So okay, since this is the music, we have to talk about Jim Carrey's "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch" because this is the musical podcast. We have to talk about the music. How do you guys feel about that? Like as compared to the original?
I think the original's iconic, but I think it adds to it in a way that you kind of have to.
I don't disagree. Also, I think how much of that song did you guys rewatch it? Or are you just doing this off of memory?
I'm doing this off of memory. I
how
have no
much-
time.
Off of memory.
Yeah, fair enough. I smashed it into one day. But how much of that song do you think is his vocals, and how much of it is like added? Because I couldn't. Some of it sounds like he's singing all of it, but there's the bridge in the middle where it sounds like it's a female vocalist. So I've always wondered if he actually. And Google's never been very helpful on that. If he sings the whole thing.
I am of the opinion that I don't know.
Fair enough.
I don't know why I lapsed into Zap Brannigan there at the end.
I
Not
have
really
the
sure why.
opinion that I have no idea.
Your Honor, I am of the opinion that I don't know.
Um,
Inform the men.
what was neither of you guys strike me as video game players, so I can't imagine you played the PlayStation 1 video game adaptation of this, which is really, really bad.
Excuse me, you need to back up. They made a video game?
Oh, absolutely, they made a
Yeah,
video
they
game.
did.
I own that video game. I can, in fact, hold on. Give me like 2 seconds to see if I can quickly find it on my shelf.
In like the early 2000s, they had like a Game Boy game too.
They absolutely did. If I indeed still have it. No, I don't think I do. It's not on my shelf. I had it at one point. No, I don't quickly see it. And it's not very good. When
Game Boy Color.
Yeah. No, the PlayStation one. I never played the Game Boy Color one. The PlayStation 1 one's not very good. It's basically it takes place sort of around they couldn't get the rights to Jim Carrey, so he doesn't sound or look like Jim Carrey. But they could get the rights to some of the actors. So like the mayor looks like the mayor from the movie, but it's like he has a bunch of blueprints that he loses, and you have to go around Whoville collecting them, and then eventually you do the movie.
Oh my God, this looks horrendously bad.
Do yourself a favor, look up gameplay of it, because the music that plays, it's just that music over and over and over again. I think Jordan wants I feel like he once tried to emulate it. We don't encourage emulation, but he tried to emulate it once and beat it, but it's really hard. It's a really difficult video game. But
They've
I played
re-released it to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, apparently.
Sorry, time out. 1 second. Jordan! Apparently, you know the Grinch game? Apparently they re-released it to PlayStation Plus, PlayStation 5. No shit. Jordan just said no shit. Yeah, you pretty much just made Jordan buy that.
yeah, you can buy it on Amazon. It came out on October 13th of 2023 for PS5.
That's
amazing. and the Switch.
That's amazing. That makes me very happy. That game's very bad. Like I played that game when I was 10. I love it from a nostalgic perspective, but it's not very good.
It's kind of like the first South Park game, which I remember being awesome.
Yeah, right. And you go back
and then I replayed it, and I was just like, this is horrible.
Can't get into that game. I got thoughts about that game.
The Game Boy game isn't better.
No, that one I believe is a straight platformer. But I don't recall it being programmed very well. Wait, did you play the Game Boy one?
Yeah.
No.
But I didn't have like a actual Game Boy. I had the Game Boy Color.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
it was essentially. I like to think of the Game Boy Color as the better Game Boy.
I mean, I don't.
Because this is how old I am. I had an original Game Boy.
I did not have an original Game Boy. I had a Game Boy Color. My very first.
I upgraded. I upgraded to the Game Boy Color, and I was like, all these colors that I've never seen before.
It was the first one first video game, not video game, but first handheld game I ever played, Pokemon Blue, and on my Game Boy, my blue Game Boy Color, and then I eventually got a Game Boy Advance. But that one, that game that you're talking about, I believe it came out like years later, well after the movie had come out, like for like no real reason. They just put out this random Grinch game on the Game Boy Advance or on the Game Boy for some reason.
Hoping that parents would be like, my kid likes games, Grinch.
Pretty much, it's the early shovelware. I mean, that was back in the that's what colloquially in the video game community they call games like that.
No, it all started with ET.
It's there so grandparents can go to Best Buy. I can say this because I worked at Best Buy and be like, that one kind of looks like something I think my grandchild will recognize. And it's your job as the Best Buy employee to discourage them from buying that.
No, buy them Grand Theft Auto instead.
A fun story. I actually discouraged a parent from buying Grand Theft Auto once and told them to buy.
Yes, I had. We've told that story.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy Grand Theft Auto.
I don't either. I don't get it.
Take it or leave it. It's one of the franchises I'm not overly attached to.
Nah, if it had a multiplayer element, I'd enjoy it more. The multiplayer function. Well, yeah, but I don't like online gaming because it's the worst of humanity.
I mean, don't disagree. So okay, is there anything we haven't said about the Jim Carrey Grinch movie? I find it oddly cynical for Ron Howard. That's my one thing. It's oddly cynical for Ron Howard. I think for Ron Howard in particular.
How so?
It just I think it sees the Dr. Zeus generally as something to make fun of. It's not as
Because
earnest.
it is, but
I don't think it's as earnest as, and I surmise we're going to talk about the Benedict Cumberbatch version, but that one is more like, I think that one is more of an earnest adaptation of the book, whereas this wants to make fun of the book. Maybe I'm off. I don't know.
I mean, I think it makes fun of elements of the book, but I think that's mostly to entertain the parents. And
Yeah.
for me, that's why, honestly, because I'm okay with poking fun at things that I love, DBZ Abridged being like an obvious example. But at its core, I think it's a pretty sincere story, because it's not like at the end, like, okay, if Disney made that movie today, the whole thing would be like MCU reference.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I will to Jim Carrey's credit in this. There's a lot of, he does a lot through that makeup. I mean, I don't feel like enough is like one of my favorite shots is or moments of acting in that movie is what after his heart goes through 2 times through too big and he overacts. But the moment where he's holding the thing up and you see him to start to cry and his face kind of softens, like that moment's so subtle. And I'm like, oh man, it's so good. Like that, it's so good.
In the Jim Carrey version?
Yeah, Jim Carrey version.
Yeah.
And then he kind of overdoes it by being like, and I'm like,
I love that. I think
when
that's
he's like holding on and he's like sliding like on his back while still holding on to the sleigh as it's going down.
It's good stuff. I just, it's one of those things where I as I get older, I appreciate genuine emotion in performance, and like that was a very real moment. And Jim Carrey as an actor, he has this tendency where it's like he doesn't know how to kind of balance both. He tends to do like one or the other. He's either incredibly serious or like really goofy, and so I like moments when that breaks down in a movie like this. It just makes it more interesting to me.
That's fair. I was about to disagree, but then I thought about it. And I'm like, well, no, you know what? Because I was about to be like, the same thing I say whenever anybody says Jim Carrey's a bad actor. I always say Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But you're right. In that movie, he's never really all that big per se.
No, that's one of my favorites because he's a regular guy in that movie.
It's a really jarring movie if you're used to like Ace Ventura and The Mask.
Absolutely, you should. If you want to see something funny, look up the trailer for that movie because it's really weird and tonally wrong.
It's so wrong.
If you think Jim Carrey can't be bad in a thing, I have heartbreaking news for you. You need to watch the number 23 because
he can absolutely be bad. Every actor can.
Atrocious movie that he was proud. Wait, have you seen the number 20? Have either of you seen the number 23?
I have not.
I saw it a long time ago.
He was proud of that movie, Jake. He was proud of it. He thought that it was going to change his career and break him into dramatic acting. I refuse to believe that's true.
Well, some people think Robert Pattinson's a good actor, but
I mean, Jim Carrey is a good actor. I hear Kidding is really good. Like I've heard it's really good. I've never seen it. I hear it's good. So I have no doubts that he's a good actor. And yeah, anyone who can act with this much makeup and like he doesn't get lost in it, I would say.
No, yeah, it's still clearly Jim Carrey, even though it looks nothing like Jim Carrey. And I like that. Yeah. Kudos to the performance. But I also like how it's not just about, like I say, it's an expanded story that the core is the same. But even in this movie, there's a moment where the Grinch is like starting to come around, and then that fucking asshole mayor,
right,
just ruins things again. He's clearly the villain.
Oh, he's obviously the villain. I can say they're adults. I would, as soon as he handed me that razor, I turn to him and I just lay into him. I just start picking apart everything he's insecure about. I make fun of the fact that he had to get his tonsil removed twice. I would just be cruel to him with my words because he deserves it.
Jesus.
Oh, wait, are you arguing that he does not deserve a takedown?
No. I'm Justin. I feel like there's some I feel like you feel really really kindred
I've
with
been
the Grinch right now.
I feel personally victimized
Is
by
there
the
is there
mayor.
something you want to unpack and talk about?
Is there
No,
something you'd like to share with the class?
no. Yeah, I was victimized by a quite rotund gentleman as a child. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't know why. It's just every time that mayor is awful, I'm like, you don't have really a position to be this awful. Like, oh no, my other favorite joke in this movie is when he admits to embezzlement, like where he's just like,
Right? Yeah.
and paid for by the generous taxpayers of Hoover. Wait, sorry, I hate to interrupt this moment. I can't help but notice that you mentioned that the taxpayers paid for that. Pretty sure that's
It's
a
okay.
crime.
It's no, it's part of the Christmas allocation spending.
I mean, that book is it's a large book. It's probably it's in
Yeah.
it's in the book somewhere. The mayor can
Oh,
spend the money how he sees fit.
as long as it's for Christmas.
As long as it's so he can date above his station. She's too hot for him. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, but he's a politician.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, but she does break up with him for a really hairy guy.
I mean, they're not really ever dating per se.
Sorry. I'll stop being the problem.
I mean, at least we're talking about the movie.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a fun movie to make fun of because I make fun out of love. I love the movie. I'm not gonna say that.
I would like to, also talk talk a little bit about Cindy Lou Who and the Grinch's like dynamic relationship almost.
I mean, you mean the fact that they're friends and nothing more? What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I like that.
You're not
It's-
implying anything weird between them, are you?
No, oh
Okay.
my
I
God.
was gonna say I don't see how you can really make that case, but
I mean, he's in the
I
North
hope
of
we're
May.
not going.
No.
Well, it's like the people that say that there's a homoerotic subtext to Doc Brown and Marty McFly, and I'm just like, what did you watch? Like,
I wouldn't say
I'm
that.
sure there's a porn version of it somewhere. Did you maybe watch the wrong movie?
I mean, never mind. I'm not gonna reference it. There's a video that does make that joke. That's all I'll say.
The part when the Grinch and Cindy Lou Who like first meet,
That scene's so good.
that scene went free in my head still to this day.
I merely noticed that you were improperly packaged, my dear.
Like-
although
like-
Jordan makes the case that he was willing to let her die. It was Max that saved her life.
Like just the fact that like he's like up on the ceiling, then his mask falls,
Yeah.
and then
I
she
mean-
picks it up.
When I was in school, so many kids went the Grinch. Like so many kids. Like no exaggeration.
I just love his scream that he echoes from her.
Yeah. I mean, okay, Jim Carrey is a phenomenal. Nothing depresses me worse than the fact that he got depressing because he was such a
Yeah.
good physical comedian. He was an amazing physical comedian, and he just kind of lost that, and it just makes me sad.
I do honestly blame Hollywood.
But to one thing I will say, he has said while doing Sonic 3 promotion that he's willing to come back to the Grinch, as so long as he can do it as a CGI character and he doesn't have to wear makeup. So I know you're Kaylee's a Dr. Zeus person. You're not so much, but my pitch is they do a sequel to this, it's the Grinch is the Cat in the Hat. We bring back Jim Carrey as the Grinch, and we bring back Mike Myers as the Cat in the Hat, and we do it as a CGI animated movie.
Jim Carrey did say he wants to be the Grinch again.
He did say that. He could get in a voiceover booth. He could play the character as a CGI animated character. We can do a sequel. The Grinch is the Cat in the Hat.
Well, the funny thing was, I was going to make the joke that if Disney made this movie today, or really if any Hollywood studio made it today, which I realize now that this is in fact what they did, so it's not even a joke, they'd just make it CG. But if Disney made it today, it would literally just be like, there would be a lightsaber used at some point,
I mean,
like as a gag, and it would just be constantly like, insert self-referential humor.
I mean, Jake, I'm not the type of person to do this, but if Disney were to make it the obvious joke, the Grinch would be a woman.
No, see, that's the thing. A woman would out Grinch the Grinch.
That's true. Sorry, Hailey. Sorry, I'm
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to dog women. I'm just saying, like, if Disney made that movie today, that's what they would do. He'd have like an assistant who without her, he would just not function because
True.
you
Yeah,
know she
instead of Max, it'd be Maxine and be a human woman. Yeah, yeah, you're not wrong. But she'd wear the antlers, so that's how they would. She'd pull
yeah.
the sleigh. I feel like I've
Well,
gone
that
too
derailed.
far.
That derailed.
That derailed bad.
But speaking of, it's funny you say
They would also make 15 of them.
yeah,
And it was like Grinch does Halloween, Grinch does Valentine's Day,
true.
Grinch does 4th of July. Grinch steals Columbus Day and turns it into, you know.
There is a book sequel to this called The Grinch Loses Christmas, or How the Grinch Lost Christmas, where it's like the Grinch now is the one who puts on the Christmas party. And it's about him, like everything going wrong at the Christmas party.
Is their roast beast.
Yeah, no, well, I only skimmed it, but it looks like he fucks up the roast beast. Like
that's son of a
he burns it or something. That's one of the conflicts in the. But it's
an
funny
amateur hour. Maybe he does need an assistant.
It's funny.
Clearly, he can't hack this.
He can't hack this. He
can't.
He can't host the Christmas.
How do you fuck up the Who hash? It's just hash with Who's.
But no, it's funny. You're like, oh, they would just make it CGI animated, and you're like, well, that's exactly what they did.
That's exactly what they did.
So okay, so you've both seen the Benedict Cumberbatch version, obviously.
I have, and I'm one of the few people that didn't care for it.
I have not. I refuse to watch it. I refuse to watch it.
I mean, that's Jordan's kind of was of a similar opinion until I think he watched it for the show. No, I watched it for the show. I think he watched it in the wake of the show. Wait, people. I figured it was generally not well received. You're saying you're one of the few.
I mean, in the few people that I know, a lot of people liked it. A lot of people were enthralled by the Minions though, and their attached studio, and I don't get that.
I don't get the Minions. I mean, I get why the Minions are popular. The kids love them, but I don't. It's funny because every one of their movies attempts to have a new Minions. Like this one is like, oh, it's the reindeer.
I mean, yeah, my whole thing about just Illumination as a studio is like, I don't hate them. Some of their movies are decent. I've never seen an Illumination film that I was just like, wow, that was a masterpiece.
They're I describe them as inoffensive. That's how me and Jordan. They're fine.
Basically,
they're fine, inoffensive movies.
Yeah, like a lot of people like that Sing movie, and I'm like, it's fine. It's just,
you know, the funniest part about Sing.
It's just karaoke.
It's not even just that it's karaoke. It's that there's literally no narrative reason for the characters in that movie to be animals. They could literally. The only reason why the characters are animals in that movie is because Zootopia came out the same year.
Yeah, Zootopia is a far superior film.
And it makes me laugh every time. Like, there's literally no reason for any of the characters in those movies to be animals. It's funny every time.
Where did I go?
Oh no, we lost Jake.
Oh no,
you became just a name.
I have no idea what happened. The video just stopped.
Now he's got a completely different back. He's got an actual Christmas background now.
Oh wait, you guys are just now seeing the Christmas background?
Oh, maybe it appeared a while ago. I'm just sort of noticing it.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, I put it on at almost the beginning, so that'll be really funny if it changes.
That's
like funny. Right now, because I've been sitting here staring at my Christmas tree and fireplace and being like,
So Jake, since we're the only two of the three of us who have seen this movie, maybe you tell me why you don't like it. I'll tell you why I like it.
I think my issue with it is the reason why you like it, in that it's a really earnest retelling of the story. And I'm like, just by the nature of this story, it's not supposed to be like this earnest thought-provoking piece. The one thing I do like about it, though, is the fact that I like the relationship better between Grinch and Max. That movie.
He actually seems to value Max. In fact, I like it better than even in the original. He actually seems to value Max as a friend, and that has everything to do with the fact that this Grinch his main motivation is that he's lonely and he's filling a void in his life.
Yeah, but this Grinch just feels like a pouty college student.
For sure.
Who's just thing. Like, I don't like consumerism, but really I'm just mad because nobody buys me a present.
Pretty much. Well, his whole thing is my thing with that is, like, in that one, all the Who's are basically decent people who want to be his friend, and he's just kind of a prick. But I'm also not into this thing, which is probably me aging myself, but this, like, I don't know. Are you guys familiar? There's a channel on YouTube called Cinema Therapy. Are you guys familiar with them? I recognize the name. I don't think I've ever seen anything.
You sent me a video about I think you sent me a video.
Did I? Anyway, Well, here in my thing, I love what they do. I like their channel. I think it's a really interesting way of looking at films because what it is, it's a filmmaker and a therapist, and they watch movies and they go into both filmmaking and like therapy and all that. But here's the thing: I'm not anti-therapy, but I'm not into it. I'm not into this. I'm not into this thing. Like,
I mean, hey,
and
fair enough. That
that
could work for everyone.
so much of pop culture is just like the subtext that I pick up on is like, oh, well, he just needed therapy. And it's like, well, I mean, yeah,
Interesting.
I guess some people, because this movie gives me the vibe of like, well, if he just talked to somebody, and it's like it's a little too simple for me for my cinematic storytelling. In real life, probably true.
Yeah,
Like,
no, fair
yeah,
enough. I mean,
yeah,
I don't love. There's certain elements of it, like I don't love Cindy Lou, who has this weird subplot that is just there to facilitate her running into him as Santa Claus later in the movie. That's purely why it's there. I'm like, this feels like I will say I like their interaction as Santa Claus better in this version because unlike in the Jim Carrey version, she doesn't really know him. Like they run into each other once at the beginning of the story, and then she doesn't see him again until the end. So when he shows up as also his Santa Claus getup is just generally kind of better because he actually has a beard. So when he shows up as Santa Claus, it's kind of a bit more believable that she thinks he's Santa Claus. Also, I liked how they do. I enjoyed how they do some of the lines as actual like proper dialogue. Um, so like they do the it doesn't light on one side, like, but they actually do it as actual dialogue between characters.
yeah.
Um, I don't love the reindeer. The addition of the reindeer is unnecessary.
No, no. And yeah, that was another thing. I'm just gonna be honest, as a fan of Benedict Cumberbatch generally, I feel like he phones it in a bit, and I think
A
it was
little bit.
overcast. I think he was overcast for this role.
I think it's one of those ones where he's trying so hard not to sound like Benedict Cumberbatch. Like he wants to be like, oh, I mean, to be fair, this thing, and I'm sure it's the reason why Haley didn't watch it, is going to be stacked up against the Jim Carrey version. It doesn't say that.
Yeah,
So I think it
and
had
that
to be different. It didn't have a
and
choice.
in reality, if the Jim Carrey version didn't exist and this movie came out as it was, I probably would have enjoyed it more. But
Fair
I can't
enough.
help but compare it to what I feel is the best version of the story, which is
I will say the one thing there's a couple things I like better. Like I like the ending where he does the thing, like he steals Christmas, obviously, and he gives back all the gifts back. And he's like, I'm so sorry, and he walks off. And you get a scene of him and Max going back to Mount Crumpet and like just like celebrating Christmas together. And it like you get that scene to breathe after of him like kind of reconciling with what he's done and like not immediately going to party with them and like having like kind of hesitating about it. I enjoyed that. It was a bit more, it added a bit more character to him. Whereas the Jim Carrey version is immediately like, I'm dating Martha May and I'm happy now. And I'm immediately, I just, I enjoy, it's also, it's shorter, but I like that additional little moment. But I understand why you
yeah.
don't like it. I get it.
I do.
I
I
get it.
do. One of my favorite gags in the Jim Carrey version, though, is the fact that he doesn't know the words.
Right? That's funny. I do think that's funny.
It's funny. He just looks at Martha and she's like, cheer, chair.
Cheer. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
That's
but
what I'm
yeah,
saying. I don't know. To me, the Jim Carrey version is just more fun.
I don't
It
disagree. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's way more fun for adults and kids alike. And to me, it's just like it's a movie that I can think of and still chuckle at the
I
best moments.
I've said multiple times at this point, I can pretty much cite it verbatim. So it'd be disingenuous of me to pretend that I don't love that movie. It is my favorite Grinch movie, just default. But my existence on the internet has been to poke fun and holes and criticize the things I love and be nice to the things I hate. So I can't change now.
You steel man, basically. You
Yeah, pretty
steel man
much.
the bad things.
Yeah. Oh boy, this week has been some bad things, Jake.
Which speaking of steel manning, I guess we gotta talk about the mean one.
So Haley, you've seen the mean one.
I've seen the main one.
That is incredible to me. Of the three of us, I not that I expected Jake to make it through it, but I part of me kind of expected that he'd power through it. I was not expecting you to have seen it. That's incredible.
I mean, I've also seen Blood and Honey too, but
I mean, to be
like,
fair, yeah, that's fair. Blood and Honey sucks. This at least I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah,
It's
does Blood and Honey reuse footage though?
yes, it does. Yeah, there's one of my favorite ones in this one. Well, how far did you make it before you turned it off?
They got pulled over by the cop, and I had had enough.
Oh, really? That soon, huh? You didn't even get to any of the
They
No,
can't
I take
pull
that
over
back. I
it.
take that back. I got to where they got to the house, and then the bat came out of the fireplace and scared the shit out of her.
oh, I that's funny. I figured you'd make it to the
Look, speaking of therapy, right? I'm like, this idea, this is a very bad idea
right,
of like, I need to face my fears. It's like, yes, if we're presupposing that what you saw is a delusion, but your mother is clearly dead
right.
and
Something killed
something
her.
killed her.
Also, the fact that they still love Christmas doesn't make any sense because your mom died on Christmas. You pretty
Yeah, I
thoroughly
know,
hate
I know. I
Christmas.
was thinking that as they were coming into town. And here's another thing. All right. So the synopsis is all about her parents being killed by the mean one.
Yeah, he
Her
does.
dad's in the fucking car.
No, he gets killed. He gets killed.
Well, I know, but they make it sound like so they say
Wait.
her parents are killed by the mean one. 20 years later, I'm like, that's her dad? I thought it was her husband and really bad casting. I'm like, he's clearly far too old for her.
I mean, their interactions are weird generally. They're way too considering what they're doing, he's way too easygoing.
Yeah, and they're all like they're singing Christmas carols coming in, and it's like
your mom died on Christmas.
Your wife, your mother was killed on Christmas, and here's another thing, right? So they do make a point to show you the shot of the which first, what nutcracker has a sharp object that pokes to the side like that pokes forward?
I don't know.
It only exists to kill this poor woman, and they show the spike. It's not long enough to clear a human neck and come out the other side because what comes out is the same length as what's on the thing.
That's funny.
It's not long enough. It's not long, and the precision at which you would have to fall to be killed by that is just staggering.
There's so much more you missed in this movie that would drive you bananas.
I don't need to because I'm going to tell you what ruined it for me. Okay, and this is because I'm an editor. The cardinal sin of any video, unless there's a narrative reason for doing it, is reusing footage. I cannot stand it. It's lazy.
Where did they reuse footage?
In the very, very beginning, in the opening, they reused the same footage of like the snowy. Well, actually, there's two shots they reuse. The sort of outside shot of the mountain with the town, and then sort of like the slow, craning over the street with the snow falling. And not only did they reuse it, they use it again, but they reverse it this time because they think you won't notice that it's the exact same fucking shot.
So I have to tell you about some of the editing as an editor that you're going to find funny. So there's one shot later on where he kills it. Eventually a Santa Claus convention shows up and the Grinch shows up at the Santa Claus convention and kills all these Santa Clauses. But one of the deaths is he throws him to the ground, jumps up. There's a hard noticeable cut. And then he lands and the guy's head is grape jelly. Like literally it's just grape jelly. And it's a really, really noticeable cut, like just super obvious.
See, I'm gonna shout out. It's not a Christmas movie, although I'll be honest, this movie felt like a Hallmark Christmas movie without niceness.
I can see why you would say that.
Like, but there's a movie that I found. You'll appreciate this. I found it randomly on Tubi, of all things.
I love Tubi.
It's called Black Coffee, and I would love for the studio to make a Christmas movie because I think they do a phenomenal job. This movie is, and I don't mean this badly, it's a genuinely good movie. It's one of those movies that they don't really make, and major studios certainly don't make anymore, where it's just like a real, I'm not even going to say basic, it's just a real simple story about two people that meet and fall in love. It's bare bones, but in a way that doesn't feel bare bones. There's not a ton of locations, there's not a ton of characters, but it's a well-made, good little movie.
Yeah.
Right? I looked up because I'm curious. I was fascinated by this movie. I'm like, this movie is way better than it has any right to be, just based upon what it is and how clearly on a shoestring budget they were. But it looks good. Like nothing looks cheap.
Yeah.
It looks really, really good. The budget for this movie was less than $500,000.
Oh, wow.
And it looks phenomenal. And I looked up, they've got a YouTube channel all their feature-length films are free. I wish I could remember the name of the studio. It's like the same general troupe of actors and all that. And I'm like, why has a major studio not reached out to these people? Because like if they can do this with 500,000, Jesus
Right.
Christ, give them 5 million and holy crap. Like
I mean, that's sort of what happened with the Terrifier movies. They started off as like
yeah,
small indie, and then they're like, hey, and that they put all their shit on YouTube, and it's the studios were like, hey, you wanna do you know, the thing? You want to make a
yeah,
big
and
budget
come
version of this?
yeah, and come to think of it, I should really reach out to them because they've got a decent following, but I have this problem when approaching, which actually I've learned from Haley to throw caution to the wind because you've had some
Yeah.
incredible
Oh,
gets.
we were talking about that earlier. I was like, how do you do it? She's like, I just slide into their DMs
She's like,
sometimes.
I just fucking ask.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool.
I
I should
just
try
sometimes,
that.
if I can't find the email, I'll just slide it into their DMs and
Are you familiar with I doubt you guys are familiar with this guy, but he's a Canadian Vancouver legend, Nardwar, the human
Mhm.
serviette. Oh, okay. He's sort of similar to just in the sense that he pulls random, like his thing is like he'll be like this, and they'll be like, how did you know that thing? Like he'll pull out a thing from like their childhood, like here's a record that you love. How did you know that? But he did a TED talk that's that's titled Just Ask, where he says literally that you just ask. That's like people are always like, how do you get all these crazy interviews? And he's like, I just ask. So yeah, I was like, yeah, it's a philosophy that absolutely works.
But
although
yeah, so well,
Sundays.
oh sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. I
No,
just
I
have
was
a
gonna say
story as to why I don't ask anymore.
I was gonna say that I was just gonna give you a shout out though, because I have an interview Sunday
Oh,
thanks to this guy
just you.
who was like, hey, you should reach out, and I was like, oh, okay.
Well, to be fair, it's really more you because you follow them. I was logged into your page because I was uploading your video and I just saw it and I was like, hey, Disney.
Ooh, the Disney.
I
I
was
gotta
like,
get
it's a Disney thing.
Jordan's constantly on my case for not being brave enough, and I'm like, I don't know how you guys talk to people who are like important, like not that you guys aren't important, but I mean like a celebrity or like a person who did something that's famous. Like I could just like, I don't know how you people do that. Like,
Well, but see, like my goal is so I think I will reach out to them because I just want to talk. The movie's called Black Coffee, by the way, and it's as a God, this is gonna sound weird coming from me, but as a hopeless romantic, it's a real cute little movie.
ooh, I love those. Black
I
coffee.
rewatch it every now and again. It puts me in a good mood. Can't help it.
I'll have to
I'm
check
a
that out.
softie. I'm a
Gonna have to
softie. If my heart grew 3 sizes, I would die.
um
So to be fair, so would most people because
so so Jake,
that's fatal.
do you have no idea what happens for the did you wiki it to find out, or do you
Yeah,
have no clue?
I know vaguely what happens, but it's
I will say that there's a couple. Okay, the number one thing that makes me laugh is the fact that they could get none of the rights to any of the characters. So it's Newville, not Whoville, Cindy, you know who, and the mean one. And every time they try to say Grinch, they get cut off. Later on, there's a character called Dr. Zeus, like written like Zeus,
yeah,
like the
Dr.
god,
Zeus.
but it's pronounced Zeus, like the doctor, you know. And his entire job in the movie is to just say lines from the book. Like that's his entire bit. He just says lines from the book. And then yeah, the twist. I'm gonna spoil the ending of it, but is that it turns out that the Grinch actually wasn't. He didn't go to their place to kill the mom. He was actually nice. It was a misunderstanding.
Okay, so that's the thought. Actually, when I was watching that first scene, I was like, what's this dick doing? Like he's not doing anything bad, and then she just hits him with a giant nutcracker.
Yeah,
Like, I'll be honest, I'd be pretty pissed too.
yeah. He basically the mom, he kills the mom accidentally, and he's like all nice looking and he's horrified. And then
So
she
yeah,
goes
that's yeah.
monster, and then he snaps, and that's what makes him kill everybody.
That was the other thing is I'm like, I don't know that you could really qualify this as a murder per se.
No, that's kind of the twist. And then she forgives him, which that causes his heart grew 3 sizes that day moment to happen, where he starts to go good. And you know what happens when your heart goes 3 sizes too big? His heart explodes and he dies.
So Cindy's the murderer.
Well, it's kind of a yeah. He goes, get away, and he like jumps on his chest like he's jumping on a grenade, and his chest just explodes.
I forgot about that part.
It's
I
very fu-
forgot.
It's like I say, I don't know. It feels intentional, but it's hard to tell with these movies sometimes.
Oh, you know what? Now that actually makes me want to go try to watch it again.
It is surprising. I mean, if you could ignore some bad editing. My thing is, I'm not as good an editor as Jake is, but I also have an editor brain, so I noticed. Like, my favorite is when you watch a scene and you see it has like 10 cuts, and you can be like, cut, cut, cut. Oh, that drives me crazy.
Now, and the frustrating part for me is I know that as an editor, a lot of times that's not your fault
No, I know.
because you can only work with what you're given. So if you're having to reuse footage, that means they didn't shoot enough coverage. They didn't, they
Exactly.
didn't give you enough to work with. But I will say this about that Black Coffee movie: the editing is flawless in it. There are
What about good
no
editing?
there's a weird montage scene, which I don't think it's weird. I think it's kind of it feels indie, but not in a bad way. But you could take it out of the movie, but it establishes a point without dialogue. Um,
Yeah.
I can see how some people might dislike that very short sort of montagey scene. And you can tell, like I said, this movie's done on a budget, but in a way that I
Sure.
appreciate.
I
And
am
it's a cute little movie. So I saw that they were on Tubi. I'm like, good for them.
good for
Hopefully
them.
they're making some money.
Although I don't know that it's hard to get on Tubi. I don't know how I know that Amazon you can self-submit. Fun fact, I learned that. So
Well,
if you
for feature films.
yeah, for Amazon Prime, you can self-submit.
Oh, really? Because
Yeah.
I know the Amazon podcast you self submit and
Yeah.
yeah.
I learned that because someone told me that, and then there's a comedy troupe I like. Their comedy special was on Amazon Prime. I'm like, wow, that seems big. And I talked about before, but I did a movie, and when doing research for distribution, I was like, yeah, you could self submit to Amazon Prime, and they don't ask for anything.
Oh, that makes sense because I've seen a couple of sort of like really like no budget movies end up on Amazon, and I was given credit. I was like, wow, good for Amazon, but apparently you can self submit.
I,
So
I think I don't know. I don't know what the conditions are of staying up once you put it up there. Or like if it has to get a certain amount of views, or we never got that far. But yeah, I was like, blew my mind. I was like, oh shoot.
I don't know, but I'm going to reach out to this studio because I feel that they deserve some recognition because
Yeah.
I want to watch more of their movies because honestly, if they're kind of like Hallmark movies in a way, but I think they're a little bit better in
I've
terms of
seen
writing.
I've seen movies like short films and movies from YouTubers that are way better than. But that's because you're forced to be creative on YouTube, right? You have no choice in order to stand out in a sea. It
Well,
forces you
I just recently watched Bat in the Sun of Batman versus Darth Vader, and
to-
I'm like, how the hell are they going to make this work, bro? They make it work.
I mean, all right, I have to check that out.
It's legitimately a good little short movie.
Um,
It's pretty good.
but the mean one, made me go. I don't, on its face, hate these what if thing I love is unpleasant movies anymore. Like I'm willing to give them a chance because for me, this one's stupid, but it's fun. Like I can't think of a good like I just lots of movies I love because they're bad, like Ninja Assassin or The Immortals with Mickey Rourke. Like those movies are bad movies, but I love them in spite of the fact I love. I think we've established I love goofy shit.
Yeah, the one thing I will say for the mean one is at least they labeled it a horror parody.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's very. I think it's deliberate. I think it's deliberately.
Oh
so.
yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
What did they label blood and honey 1 and 2?
I think that's a. I'm pretty sure that's a straight horror. I hear the second one's good. To be fair, like I'm all with you on the first one. I hated the first one, but
I watched the second one. It's not that good.
really, I've heard it's significantly better than the first one. I'm gonna have to watch it.
It's better than the first one, yeah, but it's not good either.
The second one's really bad. The first one's really bad. And
Yeah.
it upset me kind of bad.
Yeah, it's labeled as an independent slasher film.
Very much is independent. It's funny because when I was preparing for this, I went back and I listened to what I said about it for our show about these movies, and there's a point where I'm like, they're gonna make a Steamboat Willie slasher film, and it's just so funny that they did. Like they three of them, they announced three of them, and I was like, I was so right.
How's it going, everybody? It's Jake from the Down the Middle podcast, and I'm going to take a quick moment to invite you to check out our show, which airs every other Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube. If you love pro wrestling, you're definitely going to want to check this out. We talk about the latest in pro wrestling.
AEW's pay-per-views are rough, man. And it's obvious, like, Tony Khan is booking for Tony Khan, and it's obvious because Tony Khan has clinical freaking ADHD. but the kind where like you can hyper focus on the thing you love. He's like, I legitimately want to watch wrestling for 7 hours. It's like, Tony,
Now everybody else does.
hardly
Go
any
home.
hardly anybody else
Yeah.
does.
We talk about some of our favorite things in pro wrestling.
One of the best promos ever. Like, can we just say, like, I had fucking goosebumps. And here's the thing, I know it's a work, but I'm watching that and I'm like, I think MJF might have duped somebody.
And we have a hot take here and there too.
Nothing against Riho. It's just like, do you think the audience is fucking stupid? Riho weighs 98 pounds.
The vast majority of great moments in professional wrestling have nothing to do with the move. Don't get me wrong, the moves are part of it. Cena's like, I don't even remember how I won. Everybody remembers this.
But the best part about our show is that you are part of the conversation. So check out the show and join in the fun. Oh, they have upcoming projects.
Yeah, there's a whole.
I
They're making a
finally-
whole cinematic universe out of this.
Yeah, it's the Twisted Childhood universe. Upcoming projects coming out in January 2025. Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare.
Yep, there's a Bambi one.
Bambi the Reckoning.
Yep, which it looks like it's just Bambi, but like Jaws, but it's Bambi.
Yeah, but didn't Kevin Smith make that movie already?
No, he didn't. It's
No,
so
you're right. He didn't. You're right.
like, I did Yoga Hosers for the show. Don't watch Yoga Hosers. It's awful. Do you? Okay, let me ask you something. I imagine as Americans, you don't, because you guys dominate pop culture, so you don't experience this. But have you seen? Okay, I don't imagine it. Neither of you have seen Yoga Hosers, have you?
I have not, but I know of it.
That movie was offensive to me as a Canadian because it used my country as like a prop, or like, you know, like it wasn't like or like a prop or like a gag. Like in the ending credits, they sing the Canadian national anthem, and that's the joke. like it just felt like my country was just a gag or a prop or a punchline. I didn't feel like any respect for my. I don't know why. It was like, not to a serious degree, mind you, but
yeah. So the Brendan Fraser Dudley Do Right must have really pissed you guys off.
I mean, no, because that had a point. This just was just like, there's no rhyme or reason for these characters to be Canadian or for this movie to take place in Canada. I feel the same way about
other than the fact that Kevin Smith really, really wishes he was Canadian.
He does. Hey, I would take him. I'll take him. I'll take him off your hands.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll take Kevin Smith. You can have
we want Ryan Reynolds.
Oh no, you can't have Ryan Reynolds.
Well, he lives here now, fucker. So
I would like to give you back Justin Bieber.
Yeah, you can have Justin Bieber back.
Justin Bieber. Who do we have that we can give you? Who's good?
I'll take Celine Dion.
You can have Bryan Adams.
Okay, I'll take Bryan Adams.
I mean, the Canadian government has apologized for Bryan Adams on many occasions.
What's wrong with Bryan Adams?
I don't know. I
too American for you.
I have no issues with Bryan Adams. I like Bryan Adams. No, you know what? You could keep Jim Carrey. You can keep Jim Carrey.
Well, no, I would never dream of taking him from his home and native land.
But I mean, really, you can have him. You can have him and his weird weird pseudo intellectualism. You can keep all that.
I am not here. I'm just a meat. I don't remember what he said.
But... I am not here. I'm just a vessel for Jim Carrey. I'm playing a character. Right. Oh yeah. I cannot get into another rant about how much he drives me crazy. Very good in the Grinch, though. Back to the Grinch.
Grinch.
You can cast anyone as the Grinch in any form, live action or animation. Who are you casting and what form?
I can't really argue with Jim Carrey.
Bringing Jim Carrey back. Bringing Jim Carrey back.
I'm just gonna live with what he's done. I have no desire to redo it. I think
Interesting. What if he came back and he did an animated version? I'm not saying it's necessarily Illumination, but just because they already have the Grinch, it's just like they do. Illumination does it.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
I wouldn't be mad at it, but I also have no desire. Like, I think they said everything they needed to say.
I mean, that's fair. Or here's a better one. They go multiverse, and the Jim Carrey Grinch steps out of a portal and just beats the crap out of the Benedict Cumberbatch one. I don't know why I have a beef against the Benedict Cumberbatch one, but I feel like
that I'd watch.
Because Jim Carrey feels like the Jim Carrey Grinch feels like he's prison crazy.
Well, I mean, that would
He'd
be the
pull
mean
hair.
one.
He'd pull hair.
Like a straight at a Whoville situation.
Oh yeah. He's like he would just pull out the bandit come out. He'd just be like he'd just be on top of him instantly, bumping him with his gut.
Now that we got that out of the way, it's time to make an album.
It's time to make an album.
Now, I kind of feel like we do need this multiverse film now where the mean one finds a way, because the mean one now wants to just go and destroy all the other universes. He gets ripped out of his right before his heart explodes,
Right
and he's
before it
warned, what happens, so he can never let Christmas happen anywhere.
Yeah,
And it's up to the other Grinches to stop his dastardly plan.
He's of the Grinches, the one who succeeds, because for 20 years he stole Christmas, because but yeah, you got to the part where they don't put up Christmas stuff because it attracts the Grinch.
Yeah, which that's another thing. It's like, that seems rather suspect.
And then later on, it turns out that there's an entire conspiracy where the mayor and the sheriff are in cahoots. They've created a website where they trick hikers into coming into town, and then they feed the hikers to the Grinch, who eats them. It's a whole conspiracy.
Well, it seems to me that a good way to do that would be to be well known for your Christmas celebrations.
You would think, right? You would think that would attract people.
So yeah,
The Grinch.
The Grinch.
Jim Carrey's is the best.
Yeah, it is.
Everything else is a poor imitation. But
I wanted to make up a couple more points, but I completely forgot what they were.
Sorry.
I like how he instantly says sorry. Like, oh, I did it.
Sorry.
We know what we're about.
Yeah, you know what I was about.
Oh no, I was going to make a point though about continuing, because as someone who, like I said, I think the Santa Claus might be the best Christmas movie ever. Nobody really wanted the sequels.
No,
but they made them. They made them instead, and I feel like the Grinch would be the same way.
They also made a TV show which still has Tim Allen's weirdness all over it. That also, I thought the TV show was good. I thought it was funny because it answers the mythology of that universe in a weird way. But no, the movies. Although I do like Martin Short as Jack Frost.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing. Since we're talking about Santa Claus real quick, is Tim Allen it's a Michigan treasure.
I mean,
oh yeah, I love Tim Allen.
He's one of those guys where he's one of those guys I don't agree with, and he sometimes says things that make me groan. But I do overall think he's fine. He's from
Michigan. He's a Michigan treasure.
He's from your guys'. Oh yeah, fair enough. I love Home Improvement. Yeah, I still remember the thing. One of the things that made me laugh the hardest in my life. I laughed so hard I cried. Was the episode of Home Improvement where I think it's his sister-in-law comes back and he says the one thing you don't say to the Dalai Lama is "Hey Dolly," because I was like 10 and I thought that the Dalai Lama was literally a llama. I thought he was a llama named Dolly. And I thought that's what that joke was about. I didn't realize until later who the Dalai Lama was.
I don't know if you guys watched Last Man Standing, his other show.
Love it.
He did. Love it.
Love it.
Did you guys watch the episode of where he and his character from Home Improvement? Yes.
It's like the only episode of that show I've seen.
I love that episode.
I think that show is tremendously underrated for what it is, because I love sitcoms, and
I got so mad when it got canceled, but then it went back to a different channel.
Well, it made no sense. It was purely political because the show was doing great. The show was doing phenomenal.
Yeah. Wasn't it on ABC?
Where did it move? It either went. I think it was on ABC.
Yeah.
Then it got picked up by. Did it get picked up by Fox? Where did it get picked up? I can't remember. Yeah, Fox picked it up.
That's why it surprises me that they were like Toy Story 5 and Buzz Lightyear is the main bad guy, because I'm like, really? Because I felt that them trying to get Chris Evans to be Buzz Lightyear was their way of trying to distance themselves from Tim Allen.
And then it didn't work.
and then it didn't work, and that movie bombed. So it was just surprising to me that they were like, yeah, Tim Allen, because especially that they let him do that Santa Claus show, and his politics make it on there. So that was just surprising to me that Disney let him do that, because they very much didn't want, they canceled that show because they didn't want to be associated. They didn't want to appear to be associated with his politics, whether or not you agree with that or not.
I just gotta say I love Tim Allen, and even if you don't agree with everything he says, at least he has the balls to say it
Yeah,
and not
hey,
care.
I love the Santa Claus. There's a lot of stuff with Tim Allen. Jungle to Jungle is one of my favorite movies.
See, that's another really good.
Yeah, I love Jungle. I grew up watching that movie. So like, okay, here's
Hailey,
a question for. Oh, have you seen Jungle to Jungle? Yeah.
Yeah, have you? You haven't seen Jungle to Jungle?
Ooh, I recommend
No.
it. It's pretty good. Especially
If you like Tim Allen, you. Oh yeah, it's on Disney Plus. Just go watch it.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I watched that one in theaters when I was a kid. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's great.
But,
always put the seat down.
Right.
Women start war in tribe over this. Many deaths.
It's funny because in regards to the Santa Claus, on threads, a lot of people are doing a re-examination of that, and I saw one person who was like, "Did we grow up with a Christmas movie where the inciting incident is Tim Allen murders Santa Claus?"
No, he doesn't murder. It would be manslaughter.
Kills Santa Claus. Would you prefer?
Well, technically, I still make the case that Santa Claus killed himself because for occupational hazard, you're Santa Claus. You're going to be on top of icy roofs. You should have boots that are slip resistant. I'm just saying. It makes sense that in your line of work, somebody's going to hear something on the roof, go outside and be like, "Yo, dude, the fuck?" You should be prepared for that.
Okay, here's my question to both of you about the Santa Claus, because I saw this in a podcast, or I heard this in a podcast once, and it kind of blew my mind. The Santa Claus contract or whatever is actually a curse that fundamentally rewrites your DNA and completely changes who you are as a person. And the movies support this because in the third one, when he isn't Santa Claus, he's right back to being a cranky toy maker.
So I actually there's another channel on YouTube called Legal Eagle. It's a lawyer, and one of the things he'll do is he'll take a movie or TV show and lawyer it. Yeah. I would actually really, really like him to do the Santa Claus, because not being a lawyer, but I would think that he could get out of that on the grounds of want of understanding, because the contract is that when you put on the suit, you agree to the terms and conditions, but I don't think that's going to hold up in any court anywhere ever.
And also, how is he supposed to? You can't enter into a contract without consent, right? Isn't that part of it?
Right. That's the want of understanding, because even if the terms, so like for example,
didn't know he was signing a contract by putting on the suit.
Right, exactly. So let's say, for example, let's say you go to a car dealership, and in their terms and conditions, by test driving the car, you agree to purchase the car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that would never, ever, 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 ever.
Have you guys seen the show?
That's never going to happen.
Have you guys seen the show? No,
I've not.
See, in the show, it's honestly kind of good. I quite enjoyed it. It's better than the movies, but that's because it's a show, more time anyway. But part of the plot of that is he's going to pass on being Santa Claus to somebody who knows that they're becoming Santa Claus. So like they can like consent to signing the contract, whereas I guess it could be interpreted it's viewed as consent because he willingly put on the jacket, I guess, maybe. Although Legal Eagle, my favorite Legal Eagle video is where he explains the Chewbacca defense. Solid video. I enjoy his stuff.
My favorite is the one he does of Home Alone.
That's also a good one.
That's great. He was like, basically everyone's guilty.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
we would never try Kevin as an adult, though.
I don't know if Harry and Marv were killed, because they effectively should be. I think you can make the case to try him as an adult and give that little bastard the chair.
Okay. This isn't a Home Alone episode, but like
I'm kidding. I'm actually on Kevin's side.
I have to shout out Macaulay Culkin is legitimately hilarious. Like he's so funny. Like
actually give Macaulay Culkin the Grinch.
Yeah, he'd be a great Grinch. He honestly would.
Would he though? I don't know if he would.
I think he would.
There's a really good,
because he is legitimately fun. His humor is a lot more subtle than Jim Carrey's, but he is legitimately funny.
He's legitimately like one of my favorite things when he interviewed the cloud of bees.
Give Tim Allen the Grinch.
He just Tim Allen.
I think he's a little too old. I think you can make Tim Allen. I think you can make Tim Allen the mayor of Whoville, though.
Well, he could.
Just he comes out and sees all the Christmas gone. He goes,
The Grinch is theoretically, he's 50 years old. I mean, for 50 long years, he's put up with it now. So, I mean, you could have an older guy be the Grinch.
You could. I mean, I guess you could. I can see Tim Allen carrying a scene with just a dog. That's something that I can see happening.
Absolutely, he could. Yeah, that's the thing. It's all about the dog. Like it's 90% dog. That is the one thing about the animated version is because it's animated, the dog gets to do more than it can when it's live action.
That's fair. That's fair. Because yeah, the Max in the Jim Carrey movie is a little on the lifeless side.
It is, yeah, yeah. Like you can't
But
you
it's-
can't have it. You can't put a little helicopter hat on it and fly it. That's dangerous. That'd be animal.
But
cruelty.
that dog was a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh my god.
Brilliant.
You reject your own nose
He
because
was
it's a
cute.
representation of commercialism.
Oh, I remember the point I wanted to make. The whole reason why I wanted to do this too. I also wanted to bring up, during Christmas time, you can meet the Grinch at Universal.
Yes. Oh my
Jim
god. I'm so
Carrey's
glad you
Grinch
brought
at-
that up.
Yeah, and you can meet Max too, and it's
Yeah.
so cute.
The actors who do the Grinch, that's my favorite part about this time of year, especially since I've been on TikTok, is seeing clips of the Grinch at Universal Studios. They're all good. Like there's not a bad one, and they all nail it. Like yeah, it's so good.
Not to also even mention, but the dog that plays Max is just a good boy.
It's just he is. He's a cute
Just
dog.
a good boy.
He's probably. I don't think he's alive, right? He'd be a very old dog if he was alive. I know it's old enough that I owned it on VHS tape. That's how I measure. Yeah.
It just the dog that plays Max in the Jim Carrey version of the Grinch, and the Max and the dog that plays Max in Universal. They're both good boys.
They're very good boys. They're the best. They're the best boys. Hey man, loving good dog acting. I always good appreciate good animal acting in a movie, and there's some good animal acting in that Jim Carrey movie.
And
Also,
like
fun
there-
fact.
Speaking of,
and there was like a video too of like someone like went to pet Max, and like as this person's like petting Max, he like lays down. It's so cute.
Oh, that's cute. I know that you can also meet the mayor, and I believe Martha also shows up as well.
Yeah.
so somebody should actually walk up to the mayor and serve him for embezzlement. I think that would be hilarious.
That would be
People-
so funny.
Oh, people also bring whole onions in the park and give it to the Grinch,
Yeah. Those are
and
always
he
those
gets
videos,
so excited.
those videos are always funny because you could tell the ones where it's like it's like the fifth onion that day, and he's like, oh great. And the ones where it's like early on in the season, and he's like still kind of excited to see them.
If you want to be a real jerk, give him a banana peel.
give him a banana peel. I don't know why I ever leave this place. Just hand him one of those candy glass bottles.
Well, you can make those out of sugar, so he could do the gag. Ugh.
Yeah, right. Yeah. My favorite bits is where like you see with the Jim Carrey version with the gloves, how unwieldy those gloves look.
So, you guys have any final thoughts?
I
Just
watch the Jim Carrey version every year. That's
I
it.
do too. I was gonna say just watch the Jim Carrey version. I will allow you to watch the original because of its, it came first. But
Nostalgia.
yeah,
Right?
you don't need the other ones.
I mean, for me, I recommend the original if you're a lover of like old school like Looney Tunes, Chuck Jones animation, and just it's a real classic. But the Jim Carrey version really is my favorite version. It really is the most approachable, and the less saccharine and earnest.
Yeah, no, I just don't want to. I don't want a pensive Grinch.
Right? I like it. I like a little sass. I like the
sass.
I like a little
I
sass.
definitely
from
like the
Grinch.
sass.
But I would like him to come back. I do think it'd be fun if he came back.
What the hell? I did nothing.
Oh my god! I just like how like that keeps happening.
It's like the digital equivalent of storming off.
Yeah. You know what?
I'm out of here. I'm huffing off.
That's it. I'm not going. And I hit the wrong button. Hold on. I have to redo the bit. That's it. I'm not going.
That's it. I'm not going. And the child.
And you can't convince me.
The child mentioned a check.
There's no check. Are you sure?
So I'm pretty sure she mentioned a check.
So you got. Gosh.
His monologue where he's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but notice. This whole Christmas season is stupid. Stupid. You know, winds up to all your gifts, they wind up in your garbage.
Or him having the phone book and just being like,
that's also good too.
Reading off the names.
I love watching movies like this and being like, I love spotting good like moments we can. Oh yeah, that was definitely improv.
Going like hate.
Double hate. Loathe entirely.
Like you just know that he just walked onto set and picked up a phone book and then he just came up with that bit on the fly. Like you could just tell. Like I'm sure he made up those names. Like
Avark, Avacaneser who? I have.
It's good. Yeah, it's a good movie. Again, I could do the word for word. I could
So
line by line.
would you like to hear my conspiracy theory?
Yes, obviously.
He's going through the phone book, right? And it's clearly in alphabetical order. The loathe entirely. That's Augustus Mayhew, the mayor.
You're right. That makes sense. Because yeah, he's A. He would be relatively to the top. Yeah. That makes sense. He's a character you get to victimize in the video game if you ever go to play the video game. Which I suspect Jordan is now attempting to download.
But yeah, again, guys have any other final thoughts?
So just to be clear, you guys would do nothing with this franchise, or assume they are going to do something with this franchise. What resign yourself to it? You don't do anything? Oh, fair enough.
No, just don't do it.
I'm always like, I resign myself. This is going to happen. How do I do this in a way that's palatable?
It's too precious.
But
I mean, I kind of feel this. I feel the same way about. Well, actually, I changed my mind about Back to the Future, but don't redo it unless it's the musical because that's different enough. But like, I feel this way about Casablanca. It's like, don't fuck with it if it's already good.
I mean, fair. I guess I'm a
like, don't remake The Wizard of Oz. You can expand the universe, like you can do the prequels. That's fine. Except Oz the Great and Powerful. That was
no good.
That was a bad idea.
I love seeing like watching. You won't hear it, but watching The Parent Trap this week has made me kind of remind myself. I love seeing like different people interpret the same material differently.
Yeah, but I would make the argument that the original Parent Trap, while a lot of people like it, I wouldn't say it's like it's not one of those movies. Like if anyone legitimate was like, we're gonna remake The Wizard of Oz, you would be met with so much hatred, rightfully so.
I don't think they can,
especially by Judy Garland's daughters. Like,
well, there's that too, yeah. And it's just kind of like, no, why would you want to do that? That's I guess my point is like, why would you want to remake it?
Yeah.
Because didn't we say everything we needed to say in the first go around?
That movie's so good. That movie's genuinely really good. I don't. There's nothing. Yeah, my thing is like, if you're gonna remake a thing, like at least do something different with it. I like things when they're different more than when they're the same.
But I mean, it's like we say. I mean that movie is,
but also
basically perfect.
But also, my pitch for a sequel does not involve redoing the original story. It's doing another story, which I believe is a TV special. So like, that's my pitch. My pitch is not remaking this movie because you're right. I don't think they need to.
It was done. Jim Carrey and Ron Howard delivered a masterpiece, and it need not be touched or otherwise fucked with.
Everyone should watch it every Christmas. That's my final thought.
Exactly.
That's how you know. That's how you know it's good when it's watched. Like The Wizard of Oz, the same way. There are plenty of people that watch it annually, and if not annually, like I know so many people that like once they had kids, they were like, "Oh, we got to sit them down and watch The Wizard of Oz." You have to.
I watch it every year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of people that do that. And it's like me with Back to the Future. Like whenever I hear a kid say Back to the Future, what's that? I'm like, okay, sit down, shut up.
My greatest joy of Back to the Future I ever experienced was the day that Marty goes to the future in the second one. They showed them in theaters here in Canada.
Yeah, they did here too.
My friend who had never seen Back to the Future, the first time he ever got to watch Back to the Future was on October 17th. 2015 in theaters on the big screen, and he was like, "These movies are amazing."
Pretty cool.
And
that's
like,
pretty cool.
That was a pretty special moment. It's why I'll always love those movies because that was such a special moment.
It's actually quite funny because my nephew, my youngest nephew had never seen Back to the Future, and I just so happened I generally watch it at least around Thanksgiving, all three of them, and I just happened to have them, and I was literally like, "Oh, well, you've opened up that can of worms now. Sit down and
Yeah.
devote the next 7 hours to this."
That was very much it. My dad made us watch these movies. He's like, "You're gonna love them."
Well, no, I didn't make him watch them back to back, but it was over the course of like 2 days.
Oh,
Um,
really? And we
but it was
marathon those
funny.
babies.
Oh yeah, I marathon them too. But it was funny though because by the time we got to the point where we were going to watch Back to the Future Part 3, everybody else was just kind of busy doing other things, and he's like getting genuinely frustrated that we made plans to watch Back to the Future Part 3, and he was like, "Let's get a move on."
Let's do it. Especially because the second one ends on a big old cliffhanger.
Much like I am right now. I'm just like,
Yeah, except that cliffhanger is good. This is a problem.
Hailey and
exactly. That's why I keep on like, okay, let's get on the track here.
You know, funny you mentioned track. Back to the Future
God.
Part 3 ends with a train, so
Oh God.
that ironically derails. So
It does. Yeah, he's not wrong.
it's like a circle.
Mine's like a lazy Susan. It'll come back
Like
around.
an endless circular parade of nonsensical farce, and you still continue to invite us on.
I know.
No, I
you know
know.
you know what we're about.
Maybe I'm just drunk.
I mean, tis the season.
Tis the season. That's the New Year's special. The New Year's special.
Tis-
When I invite you, I must be on something. I don't know.
Tis the season to get sloshy. Fa la 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 la
Hey,
la la.
I feel like we stayed mostly on the rails this episode.
I
Yeah,
must
I mean,
be
we're-
out of my
you're-
mind when I invite
I
you
mean,
guys.
Wait, before
I
we
mean-
close this out, it's just a Christmas special. Let me ask you, what is your like 3 go-to Christmas movies that people can watch today on Christmas, other than the Grinch? Like you watch this every Christmas.
Oh, I thought
every
she
year.
flipped me off. I was like, really?
I went to go like this to say my number one, and then Justin said except for the Grinch, and then we're like, okay.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
you can
except for
include
the Grinch.
You can include the Grinch if you like. I just felt that made it too easy. But you can include the Grinch if you like. Yeah, 3 including the Grinch.
Grinch, the Jim Carrey version, Christmas with the Cranks.
Ooh, interesting choice.
I
Another
love
Tim
that
Allen.
movie.
Yeah, it's interesting choice.
And the first 2 Santa Clauses.
Ooh, all good choices. All good choices. Yeah, it's gonna hard. I would say most of the same. The Grinch, Santa Claus, and I know I mentioned it earlier, but I really like Spirited. I'm probably gonna watch it again this year. I like if
I
it's
need to
on
watch it.
it's on Apple TV. It's Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. It's basically a retelling of A Christmas Carol. It's a different version of A Christmas Carol. There's actually kind of a fun twist in the middle that I won't give away. The music is good. I totally recommend it as a Christmas movie.
I actually have a lot because I love Christmas, but my mainstays, it's more than 3, but I'll just rapid fire them real quick. My mainstays go to every year Christmas movies are the Santa Claus,
Fair.
Jim Carrey Grinch, Home Alone, The Holiday, believe it or not. I love that movie.
Oh, interesting. Are you a fan of Sonic at all, Jake or Hailey? Is she okay? The marketing department is fucking nailing it. One of the posters for the 3rd movie is just the poster for the holiday, but it's all the Sonic characters. And I've never seen that movie.
Must have been the same for Deadpool, but I have 2, and you'll appreciate this one, Justin. Not 2 more. I have 1 more. Christmas Tree of Might.
Oh, okay, that's a good one. Oh, I'll have to watch that. That's a good one.
That's it's a mainstay for me.
I'm just happy that you didn't say A Christmas Story. Neither of you said A Christmas Story because like I
love A Christmas Story.
I will never like that movie for the exact reason why everyone loves that movie, which is that they play it all day on Christmas Day, and it would preempt all the shows I like.
Go ahead, Hailey.
I was going to say, I'm going to take a moment since we're talking about the Christmas story real quick to mention last year, me and Jake did a podcast episode on the Christmas story.
No, we did A Christmas Carol.
A Christmas Carol, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
different movie.
Yeah, we should really, I think that might be next year.
Christmas Story?
What, A Christmas Story?
Yeah.
Justin, I understand how you feel because I feel that way about Elf.
Oh, because it got preempted stuff for you?
No, I just hate that movie.
Oh, yeah, I've never actually fully seen A Christmas Carol. I just hate it on principle. I can't even pretend like it's like I don't like the movie. I just hate it on
What?
principle. Elf,
Just
I
for,
also can't stand though.
just for a split second, though, Jake, I don't know what happened, but your screen is like you turned yourself green, and for like a split second, you got turned green.
It was when I was being mean. I truly cannot stand Elf. I don't understand how my oh my God, my mother
I can't stand it.
loves Elf. I mean, she loves Elf, and every year, and they started doing 24 hours of Elf, and I'm like,
I can't stand adults who act like children. It's just a big thing for me in movies. Um, so that's part. Also, it's just a screamy Will Ferrell movie. I can't. I'm fully with you. I can't stand that movie.
so I'm one of those people like a lot of times I actually enjoy Will Ferrell, but I'm not like a universal like, oh, if Will Ferrell's in it, I'm gonna love it. I don't enjoy Will Ferrell screaming for 2 hours.
No, I can't. I can't do it. I can't.
Now, the one saving grace of that movie is Bob Newhart, but he's not in it enough to save it.
Yeah, real quick fun Christmas story. For a work function one year, they had a movie night, and it was at the theater, my local movie theater, and they refused to say what the movie was. We kept at what's the movie, what's the movie, what's the movie, and they refused to say what it was. And then I finally got it out of one of my managers that it was Elf. And then
Oh,
I laughed in her face and said, I literally have 1,000 better things I'd rather do. Nope, I'm good. No, thank you.
I will tolerate it once a year for my mother's sake. That's it. And even
I,
then, I'm still like, if somebody's like, hey, who wants to do something else? I'm like, me,
I,
please.
I feel I have a similar way of Anchorman. I put that movie on 5 minutes in. I was like, I'm good. I can't do it.
I didn't care for it either, but that's me. I know that makes me weird. But anyway, we've derailed
Anyway,
we've
you
derailed Haley's evening long enough.
yes, you
Yeah.
have. Uh, so
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas, one and all, and God bless us if you believe him, everyone.
Everyone.
and
And if
I'm
you don't
sorry.
believe in him, well, enjoy the periodic table.
And a happy
That got me. Oh my god, that got me.
we'll be back for the New Year special, everybody.
That got me.
And happy Hanukkah,
Haley, what
because
are you
it'll
doing
be
for your
starting tonight.
what are you doing for your what are you doing? Oh, see, you don't watch The Simpsons, so you won't get a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, a tip top tep, a Quasi Kwanzaa, and a very religious and solemn Ramadan to everyone.
It's not Ramadan though.
Yeah, I'm just covering all of them.
Okay.
Covering all of them. And also that's a reference to The Simpsons.
I'm
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to end this episode, and you're like,
Never.
Merry
Sure.
holiday wishes to everyone.
Everybody knows there's 3 months of Christmas.
It's 12 days.
um. So yeah, that's it for this weird, chaotic episode that was supposed to be about the Grinch, but turned into many other things.
It's our gift to you. And it's getting
Merry-
bigger, see? It's getting bigger. It's getting too
Three-
big. What's gonna happen?
3 sizes too big. It's gonna explode.
And I just again I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Whether you're watching this instead of the Christmas parade or watching this after the Christmas parade, I hope that you guys have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I will see you in the brand new year.
And if you're a Grinch, have a nice Wednesday.
Have a regular Tuesday.
God, I'm sorry for them. Merry Christmas, everybody.